name is Lally, and my song is El Condor Pasa, performed by Simon and Garfunkel. I like many of their songs, but this particular song has a few memories attached to it. When I was about 13, I was set a homework task of bringing a song in with lyrics that were quite poetic. And I had a real dilemma because back then it was a time when the internet was not really the go-to for these things. It would be really easy to do that now, but back then, although we had the internet, I'm not that old, but it wasn't really very well used. It was in those few years where we were just getting to grips with it. And so I turned to my mum, who, unbeknown to me at the time, was not long to be with us. But at that time, she was my go-to for help for homework. And I confided in her my dilemma, and she produced one of her few musical, one of her few choices of popular music. She was really into classical music, and more about that in a mo. But she produced this LP by Simon and Garfunkel, and there was a number of songs on there. This, for me at the time, I knew that I knew Bridge Over Troubled Water. It was really popular in the reruns of either Pop Idol or Pop Stars at the time. So yeah, this was unfortunately the choice I went for in the end for her, because her hope was that I would choose El Condor Pasa, which has some rather unusual lines in it, and I think their silliness, or what was deemed for me quite embarrassing lyrics for a early teen to be producing in school, but in terms of poetic opportunity, it was probably quite a good choice of hers. I did end up going for Bridge Over Troubled Water, because I knew it would at least be familiar, and I didn't know just how amazing Simon and Garfunkel were at the time. So as I said, my mum had a classical taste in music, and she was quite a classical singer. She had grade 8 in singing, and one of her greatest pastimes was to break into spontaneous song. Now, I'm often told that this is something I like to do. I tend to do it at home, and in the company of others during conversation, which is probably embarrassing for people. But my mum more notably seemed to like to do this very loudly in public, particularly in areas of good acoustics. And I remember a very particular memory of us going into our local village, town village, it's sort of between two, and there was a market square that had become a car park, and so we'd park the car there and go to the shop, and as she crossed this car park, she decided that was the time to break into a really loud operatic score, which was just unbearable. Another way to describe my mum, and maybe a lot of folk have embarrassing parents, but and it's their right to be embarrassing, but I would say that on paper, for anyone to see, she was one of the best on this score. Another example would be if coming out of class at primary school, getting collected, she would be easily located among the other parents, as sometimes your parents can be hard to find. Well, not my mother, because she would be, whatever time of year, she would be wearing a long flowing skirt, and easily it would be decorated with 5-inch flowers all over it. Again, probably quite trendy now, but definitely not in the late 90s. And then Another memory would be in the winter she would be not without her beret. Again, maybe this is to some people's tastes, but my mother would actually make her own beret, and this very brightly coloured beret would actually reach her shoulder. So come rain or shine, or cold or warm, she never missed an opportunity to make her mark. But back to this particular song. So I remember her producing this LP, and her tracing the words of the song as she tried to convince me, right, this is going to help, this is the answer you want. And she gently sang, "I'd rather be a hammer than a nail." And yeah, it was really just so strange. So I hope that you can enjoy this song, and maybe you know it, maybe you don't, but if you don't know Simon and Garfunkel, I really recommend that you try any of their greatest hits, because it's just amazing, their talent, and it's absolutely timeless music.